That's right, and people are highly anticipating her visit here to the border. So this is Harris's second visit to Arizona since she took over that Democratic nominee after Biden dropped out of the race. But this is her first trip down here to the border, and this is a very important one because there are polls showing that she is trailing behind Trump when it comes to voters here in our battleground state. Now, as you mentioned, border security and immigration are two topics that are extremely important to our voters, and it appears that they are both the Achilles heel of the Harris campaign heading into the final stages of the race. A Fox News poll released today reveals voters trust Trump to handle border issues over Harris by a double-digit margin, with 56% of voters saying they believe Trump would do a better job on border security compared to 41% for Harris. After visiting the border earlier today, someone with the Harris campaign tells us the vice president believes agents there need more resources. And if elected, she plans to reintroduce a bipartisan border security bill that would hire more border agents and officers. We're told she will also be proposing adding new fentanyl detection machines to ports of entry, while also cracking down on companies that are making the chemicals used to make that drug. Now, of course, we will be bringing you coverage as she makes those remarks here in Douglas today, so stay with us on our AZ Family app and website while we go ahead and take those live on our station. Reporting live here in Douglas, Alexis Dominguez for Arizona's Family.